bring this meeting to order. Can we start with, I'll start with roll call. Kay's not here, and Sean has an excuse. So, who's here? Dee?
Dee Monroe here.
Bob Corbus here?
Lou Ennisser here.
Are you
Ralph Kendall here.
Thanks, Ralph. I wanted to make sure. Okay, we have a quorum, so we can call the meeting to order. So, can we review the minutes from the last meeting for approval? Any comment?
I move we approve them.
Anybody?
Second.
Second?
Wait a second.
Oh, okay. All right, then we'll approve the meeting, minutes from the meeting, approved. Okay. And that brings us to audience comments. So if you have a comment you'd like to share with us,
Yes.
tell us who you are and all that good stuff that we don't
Bob
know.
Thayer, 104 East Kenilworth. A few weeks ago, I was in Wakanda and ran into two people from the water department over there. One was the actual operator. And Wakanda is going to get Lake Michigan water. And why they were so concerned is they thought their allocation was going to be running out. So they wanted to get their Lake Michigan water before their Lake Michigan water allocation ran out. Upon speaking to these two fellows, I asked them, well, how did you do it? Did you do it through an SSA or whatever? And they said, no. The city financed it through an EPA loan at very low interest. So in other words, unlike Prospect Heights that wants to do everything through an SSA that the homeowners pay for, they're taking out a bonding or whatever for this loan to put in a municipal water system financed by the city through the EPA and a few other places. But I don't understand why Prospect Heights can't do the same thing. This has been going on for the 30 years that I have lived here, and nothing's been done. We still don't have Lake Michigan water. Do we have an allocation? Will the allocation run out?
Well, we do have an allocation in our, available to us, but I have not heard personally if anything can run out at the moment. That's something we maybe need to check into, because I wasn't,
Right.
I haven't heard anything.
Right.
And
Well-
it is a possibility. I mean, obviously, if it happened in Wakanda, we need to find out more about what that's all
Right.
about.
So maybe someone from the committee could contact the folks in Wakanda and see how they did it.
Do you have anybody in particular?
No, I don't. I don't even know his name. I just,
Where are they going to buy their water from? Do you know?
I think it's coming from Lake Bluff.
Okay.
What'd you say?
I think their
Lake
water is
Bluff.
coming from Lake Bluff or somewhere else.
That
But
doesn't
Well, it'd have to
sound
go
right.
through what, Mundelein to get to Wakanda?
I have no idea, but I'm just,
Yeah, I think that Palatine is what the hook is there.
I don't know.
Palatine ran an 18-inch pipe through this,
18
to
inches.
that area.
To Wakanda?
Feed everything, to feed everybody, Deer
what?
Park and everything.
Oh, okay.
When does this project start?
I don't know. It's just a
You don't-
conversation I
money
have.
was- Oh, it's just a conversation, so you don't know if they
I
actually
know
got
no
the grant?
specifics at
Did
it.
they apply for a grant, or they already received the grant?
They've received the grant
Oh, they have.
because they're getting, he told me they're going to start doing it soon. So I just wonder how, their allocation problems, we have an allocation or whatever it may be. And I just thought it'd be interesting to bring that up,
No, it is very interesting
that
because,
Wakanda, little Wakanda, is going to have a municipal water system.
Well, Little Wakanda isn't little anymore, too.
Well,
They've grown, they had triple their population the last 20 years.
yeah. But,
They had 6 1,500-foot wells, I think it was. Till recently, they were using 5 to 6 until they hook up the water, I guess. But
well,
and I think the Palatine is what feeds that. Palatine,
Let me find that
well,
out.
Palatine gets their water through the Northwest Water Company.
yeah.
Right.
well, I
And that
know,
goes back to the days when we were told that they couldn't hook up to anybody else. Well, Palatine never paid attention to that. They hooked up to that, and they hooked up to the university over there.
You said Deer Park, too, right?
Deer
Palatine's
Park.
hooked up to, Deer Park is hooked up to Palatine?
Yeah.
And then what about Lake Zurich? Where are they getting their
Well,
water from?
I think that's where the feed is, they're gonna go at an angle under the 12.
They're gonna keep going up 12?
Put a 15-inch pipe under 12, is what I think, but I don't know that.
Well, I just thought I'd bring it up to make people aware that
Want me to
Lake
check
Michigan
that out?
water's out there, and in the city newsletter, I thought it was very apropos that Mayor Helmer's neighbor's house burned down, and they had no fire hydrants. You know, people, get real. We need fire hydrants. And it's that simple. Why are we a municipality with no fire hydrants? Even if you don't want to drink the water, maybe you need some fire
Well,
protection.
that's what I would like if we got water. I mean, I got good well water now.
Well,
I don't.
You're
I
fortunate.
guess I hook it up, I don't know.
You don't have fire protection, though.
That's what I say, that's
yeah.
what I want.
you want fire protection? I just want fire protection. I want to be able to turn on the tap and get decent water.
And that's the part that is a little confusing to me, that the city wouldn't take that under their arm, because it is a need in the community.
Well, to me, it's a
don't
much
seem to be
bigger,
doing that.
it's a much bigger need than this ridiculous city center project that they're talking about.
Yeah,
I mean, that's ridiculous. And,
Well-
and to spend money on that, which should be going into your municipal water supply, I mean, who's going to put a city center with well water, no fire hydrants?
If they did something like that, they're probably gonna get regular water if they're gonna develop. Not that I know anything for sure, but logically, that's what they would do, which isn't gonna help the rest of our residents. The problem with what's happened in the city is you have so many people that are adamant against it. And
it.
unless you have an opposing force of people willing to put in the time and the effort, and again, I'll repeat, like I've always said, that's what we did, and that's why we've got it. If you get enough people organized and you put up a constant battle in front of City Hall, they'll pay attention, but you've got to have numbers and you've got to do it organized. And if you don't do that, you're not gonna get it, and that's why the SSA process has always been the way of doing it. There's not enough organization within people to do this.
Well, maybe when the next house catches on fire, it'll wake up a few people.
Yeah, but it's only gonna wake up the person whose house is on fire.
Yeah,
That's the problem.
yeah, that's what's gonna basically happen, because if it's not you, it doesn't matter. It only matters if it's you.
Okay,
And that's the philosophy, unfortunately, a lot of people have. If it's not me, it's not my problem, and it's not,
well, it affects everybody,
it
Bob,
does affect
because,
it. I'm not disagreeing with you, Robert. I think, the city should have water. I think it's a benefit for the city in a lot of ways, and it's a detriment not to have it, but it's not my choice.
the article that I shared with you a couple of meetings ago about the property values, 33% lower because Prospect Heights doesn't have a municipal water system.
And again, you have people out there who say, oh, it makes no difference, but I would have to disagree, and there's nothing you can do unless you
Well, as I've stated in the past, the cure for your well problems is municipal water system, Lake Michigan Water.
Yeah.
I know you like your well, you're in love with your well, but it's still a well.
I'm on the committee, one way or another, I'm okay with my water. I also bought a system. Didn't cost me as much as yours, but I also bought a system, and I'm pretty excited about it. I'm going to have a water party.
Really?
Yeah.
see, that's the other issue too, is because there's pockets of water where it's very good
Yeah.
and people have less cost, and the other people who are unfortunate in our city that don't have that benefit are at a detriment. So it's not fair to those people either, and I can understand that.
Also, a lot of people have invested money into water treatment,
Yeah.
just as you
Which is-
have.
you just did, yeah.
I just did,
that makes
and
it
I'm
more
willing to throw that
difficult than
money away to get municipal water
I
system.
just threw $4,000 into my well. I gotta pay this off by
But you
using,
still
by
want-
using it for a while, right?
You would abort that and go ahead with city water if it was available.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For several reasons. Property value. I mean, there's a huge thing. As soon as you mention Prospect, oh, they're the people with the crappy water. I wouldn't buy a house there. Well, I can understand that.
Wonder if your insurance rates would go down.
Your insurance rates will go down too because you'd have a fire hydrant.
Well, realistically, speaking from experience, the insurance rates wouldn't change. We're already.
Well, I know, you're in the
we're already-
insurance business.
Yeah, we're already between, we're under town class 6. Anything under town class 6 gets the same pricing.
Right, but anyway, that's
But
what I'm
water
sharing
sa-
with, I'm
but
sharing my
it's a
experience
deceiving
with.
town class 6 because you can't deliver water in certain areas quickly enough,
Right, well,
depending on the fire, when it's,
I had spoke to Ralph, and he asked me to stop by and share my experience with these other fellows from Conda with you. And
okay, no, that's very good. I
that's what I
appreciate you
did.
doing that.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Okay, any other comments? No.
Sorry.
All right, we're gonna go through old business here. Any follow-up on any of the old business?
Well, I finally have completed my task of getting the test results from Greenbrier
Okay,
after a year.
well, you're tenacious,
Well, I really didn't get the
tenacious and
information,
determined.
until, completed until just recently. I'll just go through this quickly with you and tell you what I have here. How it came through from EPA is attached to the back of this. But it's not in any, it's set up by category and not in alphabetical order, so I took all that information and I put it in alphabetical order so it would be easy to find. The units are expressed either, for the most part, either in milligrams per liter or micrograms per liter. Milligrams is MGL, and I put a little asterisk next to it so it's easy to find. UGL is micrograms per liter, and there are 1,000 micrograms in 1 milligram. And they're expressed differently in the results, so I expressed them differently in the units here. Well number 1 is the backup well, the shallow well, and which is the one that we wanted to investigate anyway, because that's where that depth is where most of the residential wells are. Well 2 is the deep well, 1,000 feet. So those are the results of that. You'll see, and the next column is the allowables. Now, I was able to, let me go back for a second. Well number 1 and well number 2, there are places where I have the double asterisks. That means that there was no requirement for them to test for this through EPA, but I put them in there and I will explain why in a minute. Maximum allowables, I was able to find a lot of it, but some of it I just could not find, and that's represented by the 3 asterisks. Out of this whole thing, there were only 2, in well number 1, there were only 2 places where it was over, and that was under chloride and under iron, which you would expect, iron, actually. So this is the results. Now, the reason that that I put parameters or contaminants in here that are not included in the EPA is because I'm also working on another document where I'm going to get rid of the well number 1 and number 2 columns, and to the right of maximum allowable, I'm going to add a column that that lists where all these things come from. You know, manufacturing, nature, cattle, whatever it is. And then another column of what the long-term effects or high exposures, what that effect is on humans.
Okay.
So I'm working on that, but that's why I put the columns in there, because that even though the EPA didn't test for them, because I wanted to make sure that I got information that I just mentioned on contaminants, even if they weren't included in the original EPA test. So this will be nice. I mean, we'll have something that will, you know, if you look at barium, for example, you'll be able to see it comes from, here's where it comes from, and here's what happens if, you know, long-term effects or high concentrations. So that is it. Then what I attached to after the 3 pages is the actual results that came from, that went to the EPA. And unfortunately, there are some, you're going to find some in here that don't quite correspond to the summary. And that was because on well number 1, it was expressed as milligrams, and then the test on well number 2 was expressed as micrograms. So I had to pick one so that I could compare them. So anyway, that's, really, everything, if we're looking at well number 1, which was the whole purpose of this, everything is really pretty good. I mean, we don't have anything that's out of hand, except, like, again, except for the chloride and the iron. Everything else is well within the parameters of the allowables.
Did you say the well number 1 is which is the deep well?
Yes, it's on the back also, but well number 1 is the shallow well, and well number 2 is the deep well.
Oh, okay.
So well, if you're looking to,
Next page, Rob.
one
Sorry.
more.
On the bottom,
Some
there's a
little notes
ledger.
there.
There's a ledger on the bottom of the third page.
No, one back. There you go.
Right there.
Yeah, so there's well number 1, there's MGL and UGL, no sampling done, no maximum, and where it came from, and it's for informational purposes. Because this got quite, as you can look at it, this got quite confusing in the middle of it.
I'm sorry, Lou, the shallow well, how deep is that?
220,
220.
and the deep well is 1,000. I think that's what it was.
And most home wells, how?
Are on that, well, you got 2 different aquifers. The shallow well goes into one aquifer and the deep well goes into another one, and most of the wells, the residential wells, are going into that shallow one. They average, I think, I don't know what they average, but they range from 100 feet to 250 feet, something like that. So the number 1 well is the most representative of the residential wells in the area.
So you're saying the well number, the deep well is the main supply for the building?
Correct.
And I thought it was the opposite way. I thought that was for the
No,
safety.
the deep well is the main supplier for the building, and the shallow well is the backup for either emergencies or, the only time it'll be running is when they're, if the deep well goes out or to test, that's the only time. Otherwise, the deep well is the main, that holds all the water
Yeah.
because it's deeper and it's a bigger casing, so it,
Yeah.
the storage is
8-inch
more.
casing or what?
I think it's 8 and 6. I don't have that in front of me. I think it's 8 and 6. 8 for the 1,000 and 6 for the 220. So
So it looks, basically, it looks pretty good then, right?
it does, and I'm amazed that you got 2 different aquifers there, yet the numbers, it's a little disappointing in that I was hoping for more real numbers, and a lot of this, probably the majority of the results are less than numbers. Less than 0.5, less than 1, less than 2. Only on occasion are they giving you actual numbers, which is good. I mean, that it's clean because it's under the maximum allowable, but it doesn't give you specifically what that number is for the most part.
Okay.
But it's all, it's what they gave EPA and what EPA sent back to them, so that's all I can do.
I'm looking at page 3, about halfway down, sulfate.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't those numbers over the maximum allowable?
Oh, they are, aren't they? I missed that. They sure are.
Both wells are, the deep and the shallow.
Yes, you're right, absolutely.
The shallow is double allowable. Do you know much about sulfates,
I don't
the
know.
impact?
I think that's where the smell comes from. That's partially where the smell comes from.
Okay.
And again, I'm not sure, if the maximum allowable is 250 and the reading is at 510, I don't know if, in some cases, if it's dioxin, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
If it's sulfate, it may not be.
Yeah, I have a feeling maybe the sulfate's not that impactful except for the odor, because I remember, as a kid going to the wells.
The rotten egg.
Yeah, it smells terrible.
And I believe it's a natural laxative.
You can also see the things that have, the things that are most deadly are the things that have the lowest maximum allowable.
You know, uranium they have on here is equal to the allowable.
Look at dioxin on the second page. Look what the allowable is. That's pretty low dose.
Yeah.
That and PCBs, you can see, are about the same thing.
If this is like, well, you know, the shallow wells are representative of the residential wells. You can see things that have been common problems for a lot of the residents, and that is the hardness factor on here is double of what the deep well is. The hardness is about halfway down on page 2. It's at 1,036.
Mm-hmm.
That's a common problem with a lot of people with. that
Yeah,
are-
it's more than double the deeper well.
Yeah.
But
And then
you-
the sulfate as well, that's something, and then, and the iron, those are the 3 factors that come up a lot.
And though I'm not, I'm not real concerned, even though those numbers are high in some cases, because EPA gave them a permit.
Yeah.
Maybe because of those things can be treated.
I think that's part of it, and their toxicity is low,
Slow.
as opposed to some of those dioxins and PCBs and the more deadly contaminants.
That's as far as the humans,
Correct.
yeah.
Though interestingly enough, some of this, and you'll see in the when I expand this, some of it is not even, some of it hasn't even been tested on humans. It's only been tested on lab animals. And their recommendations are based on that, mainly because, it's hard to go test something that you think might be deadly on a person.
Yeah, that wouldn't be too good.
Any volunteers? No. But that gives us a pretty good idea, at least, of what's going on locally.
Yeah, it is, it's, maybe when you get that other couple of columns on there, we can get this posted. I mean, we could probably get this posted for now, but,
Yeah.
you know, why,
I don't know, the fact that it's Greenbrier, or Grandbrier, I mean, I don't know that we should be throwing it out there. I mean, I suppose we can. Certainly, the second one is more of a, that would be a nice little handout, actually, for people. Not so much what the maximum allowable is, but, I don't know where the source of a lot of this stuff is. I mean, a lot of it's, I started this already, a lot of it's nature. It just, leaches out of rocks but a lot of it is mishandling of wastewater, agriculture, pesticides, that a lot of it's coming out of there. So it'd be nice to see where all that's coming from and what that long-term effect is of.
well, then, you know, like I said, it'd be nice to have
Yeah.
that one published.
That one, I
because
think,
if
for
people
sure.
Could get more information. This
Sure.
one, I'm not in a hurry.
Yeah.
But what I like about it is the fact that you got the shallow and the deep well.
Yes,
It's not so much the Greenbrier, I mean, it's not affecting them per se.
no, but it'll give people some idea of what, without testing it, where you might expect their numbers to be on their wells, because they have shallow wells.
Well, it's a good talking point. It gives
Sure.
people something to look at and say, hey, you know, my well, if I test it, does it look like this?
Yeah,
And then.
and the closer you get to Greenbrier, more than likely that will be true.
And maybe we
Or
could even
Grand Rapids.
figure out the coordinates. I know that when I had my water tested, that was something that they had asked is like coordinates of my well, of which I didn't know, but
I think you can, GPS coordinates is probably what they're looking for.
You know, this gives me an idea, you know, a couple of meetings we've been talking about, you know, getting testing done with the city's help. You know, maybe we propose to the city that they put together some kind of subsidized well testing so we can get a good sampling on a voluntary basis from the residents.
As they get their wells tested then? contribute
Because I
that
don't think,
data?
I don't think there's ever been a comprehensive study of well differentials throughout the city, and maybe you can get a sampling. What would be a fair sampling, 10% of the residents?
I think,
That's 200 households.
yeah, as long as it was spread out, I think so. I mean, if you could get it, you know,
I think that's an awesome idea.
You know, maybe that's one thing we can do, because I think that would go to give more credence to what the well situation is in general within the city.
that's a good idea.
And I think if we were going, I'm ignorant to this, but I think when we were talking about the EPA giving out a grant, there's got to be a real good reason that the government would lend out money.
Well, I'm very
right? I
curious to
mean,
find that out as well. I mean,
Yeah.
we've got, seems to be one of the most productive meetings we've had in a while. We're coming up with a lot of good information. What you've prepared ties into what Bob brought here and the allocation, so all of this is very important. And I think that should be our coordinated effort to take in that information and put something together. And if we can get a sampling of at least 10% of the residents, we've got the map of people who are in favor of well water and against well water, so we'd have to distribute the testing among the people who are unhappy with their water with the people that are happy, and then from that, I think we can get some numbers, because the people who are unhappy are the ones that can't treat their water well.
I am so sorry. I just got up. Okay?
It happens.
I'm fine. I just was overslept.
You know, I'd like to find out too, Bob, is whether Wakanda is getting water because of poor water quality of their existing wells, or if it's political, or how that came to be.
I think it's political. Now, you want me to follow up a little bit on Wakanda, because I know some of those people.
If you know some of the people, Ralph, and can get a little information, I'd be happy to talk with them as well. So whatever you want, if you're comfortable and you know people, why don't you make a few calls and find out who knows the insides of that grant?
Okay.
Who wrote it? Whoever wrote it would be helpful, because then I can talk with that person and he would have all the information. Or
We'll
you
find out.
can- We can do that. That'd be great.
And anyway, for next time, I hope to have that document that I was talking about.
No, that would be good, but I think maybe, you know, we should focus on putting together something in the way of a presentation to the city and say, we'd like you to consider allocating funding for testing among 10% of the people with wells.
How many households did you think that was?
About 200 roughly. When we do the mailings to people who don't have city water, it comes out to about 2,000, 2,100 residents.
And on average, what do you think a test would cost? 100?
D?
The best test that, I mean, most comprehensive was $65.
Oh, that's not too bad.
So if the city would, you know, pay for, let's say, half or more of that, just to get
As an incentive?
an incentive to get people to participate.
So that would be 100 households, that'd be $6,500, right? If you're paying half.
Yeah, I mean, 100 households, yeah.
So
And that would be
$6,500.
through the Illinois State Water Survey, which is also.
And there might even be, maybe there's additional, either grant money or some money available
You know, that's a
for
good
that
point
testing.
too. Maybe the EPA would say, yeah.
At least
we
participate.
Would participate.
If not pay for it.
So we need to put a proposal together incorporating all this. Any more thoughts on that?
I'm all for it. I think that's a great idea.
We should, Kay, just as a summary.
Thank you.
Oh, here, let me give you one of these too.
And I apologize again.
That's all right.
Well, we're glad you're here, Kate. Everyone was here, Sean has an excused absence, so we can get caught up afterward on what you've missed here a little bit.
Okay.
That'll be fine.
Yeah, that's fine. After the meeting, I'll tell you what.
Thank you.
We'll catch up on things with you after the meeting then. Otherwise, you probably could always see the video.
Oh,
After the meeting, I'll take a couple of minutes.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
bring
you,
up-
Lou.
it-
We
it
can
won't
do
be-
that, yeah. All right, so I think, do we want to make it like a formalized proposal here, that we want to go forward with this project? Take a vote on it?
I think certainly investigate the potential to do it. That can't hurt, right? Put some
No.
numbers together and see if we can investigate sources of revenue that might go into this, like EPA and the city and, maybe the Illinois Water, is it Authority?
We'll see about
Illinois
survey.
Water Survey.
Yeah,
They're
maybe
with
they
the
might,
university.
they might have some ideas or maybe be able to participate money-wise. I don't know what these people if they have budgets or not, but let's like I said, investigating it certainly doesn't cost anything, right?
I think
A little
it's a great
time.
idea.
Yeah, well, again, it'd be a good thing to do, but, to expedite it along would become the concern. You don't want something to drag on for indefinite amount of time either.
Well, do we want to do this individually? Just go home and see what you can find and come back and report on it, all of us?
Yeah, it'd probably be a good idea.
Next meeting?
Yeah, I think we should make this a priority to, all put something together.
Yeah, just, we can look at,
At the
we have
next
areas that we were talking about, funding is one. Costs, or what kind of tests versus cost. Maybe other municipalities who have done this, that have done this. I don't know whether there are any.
I know that there's always a big drive in the fall. I think it's the fall and the spring for some reason. I read somewhere along the line that they do a lot of, they pick up on this, the water testing and water programs in the spring and the fall.
Where's the closest municipality that's still on wells? Anyone know?
closest one.
Municipality that's still on wells?
Besides us,
Yeah,
what,
closest to us. It's got to be
Long
Well,
Grove?
Barrington,
Long
people
Grove,
like
is
that.
Long Grove on
Long
there?
Grove, maybe? I don't know. They have water?
My son-in-law lives in Prospect Heights, my daughter, and they have a well.
Okay, yeah. I
So there
know.
are some places on the outskirts that have wells.
No, I'm talking about
Other than
other towns.
Prospect Heights, who else?
know,
It's
what's the
Mount
closest?
Prospect.
Oh, Mount
Oh, Mount
Prospect.
Prospect?
Mount Prospect.
Oh, well, really?
Yes, yes.
Huh. That's interesting. Probably very few.
It's unincorporated, the unincorporated area.
So
Yeah,
I'm
that would
wondering
be-
if maybe part of Des Plaines might be part
Well,
of that too.
the only part of Mount Prospect that I know is unincorporated is where United is over there on Dempster and, I forgot the north-south street.
That new section they just purchased.
Well, that
That's
was,
around, that's around Dempster and Elmhurst Road, 83.
well, no, it's further west. Linneman Road, is that what it is?
Yeah, that's right, yeah, Linneman. That would be-
Linneman and Dempster? That, the old United place?
Oh, the old one, I'm thinking, okay, yeah.
The big white building, where they used to be their headquarters before
Yeah.
they moved downtown, that was, I don't know if it still is, that was unincorporated Cook County, so maybe that area in there might have wells. I think the village of Mount Prospect has been after them to incorporate forever, and they didn't want to do it as United. But now, if you got a developer coming in, it will be to his benefit to incorporate so that he gets all the city services or village services. I don't know. You know what? I'm going to look into, see who's closest and maybe who's closest with wells, and then maybe see what they're doing or what they have done.
Well, we know Barrington,
But I would, maybe Long Grove.
I think Long Grove, we had a subcommittee member that moved out that way, and I
That's-
remember him saying he was laughing about it because he was going from Prospect Heights well to,
Yeah,
Long
that would be
Grove.
about the closest, I think.
well,
But,
Long Grove has had a long history of trying to hook up to city water, or, Michigan water somehow. Never have been able to accomplish it.
well, I think that's good. So we're going to all individually kind of look into,
well, the
Okay.
the essential thing is we're looking into various avenues to propose a request on the city to have a test done and subsidize a test of wells, a sampling, a good scientific sampling, I'm guessing is at least 10%.
I think you're right.
And then we can maybe approach, how we're gonna approach the residents, how we select the residents, how we select the well areas.
Now, so as not to have 7 people all calling EPA to find out the same thing,
Yeah.
maybe we should split that up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, Ralph
I
said
agree.
he's gonna check with the Wakanda about the other issue.
I'll do,
You've done a lot of work with
I'll do
the
EPA
You
and-
probably,
I'll talk to them.
yeah.
Do you have, D,
I'm going to sit back
Ill-
and look pretty.
Illinois Water Service? You have some contacts over there,
I'm
don't
going
you?
to have a problem there. Yes, I do have a gal that I talk to.
Maybe would you mind taking care of that?
I'd be happy to.
And then I don't know what other sources that we, EPA, Illinois Water Survey.
Well, I can have a chat with a few people here in the city, maybe I can talk to Rich, because I think Rich does the grant writing. Does Rich normally do grant writing? Rich Tibbetts?
Tibbetts.
No,
He did in the past, he wrote a few grants.
I don't.
Do we have someone who writes grants?
But if you're talking about a grant for like the IEPA,
Yeah,
which is what Bob was talking about, those are the big ticket items. It's like a 1%, I think, interest they charge on it. And it's mostly for infrastructure. So you like putting the pipes in. So I don't think they'd have any grant that would be for something around $13,000, which is what we're talking about here. I can ask our grant writer to see if there's anything he's aware of, but generally the grants are for big ticket items.
well, that would be the other part of Peter, the other part of the grant is, what Bob brought up about Wakanda. If we find out more about what's going on there,
Ralph may know something about this. Does Wakanda had a well system, right?
Oh, yeah.
They had a city-owned well.
Yeah, they have 5 wells, deep
Okay.
wells.
So they had infrastructure that was
That's
in
true.
place that moved that water from a well to the homes.
Yeah,
Okay. We're different than that because we don't even
I
have
know.
the infrastructure. So while Wakanda, and we can kind of compare ourselves to Wakanda, we are drastically different than Wakanda because we don't have the infrastructure in place.
We don't have the tie-in places.
Yeah, so while Wakanda, probably their IEPA loan is going to be to tie in to a municipal source, another municipal source that they're going to purchase water from, we would be a much larger project because not only would we have to do the tie-in, get someone like the Northwest Water Commission that would be willing to sell us the water, but we'd also have to put in the infrastructure so that that water can get to the homes. So there is a difference.
that's a good point.
Because right now, and we talk about fire hydrants and all that, there's not a water main running in front of people's houses to put a fire hydrant in place.
Yeah.
Or to service them with water. If we had a well water system where the city actually owned wells, like Wakanda did, and pumped their own city water, and people bought water from the city, even though it was well water, that infrastructure is 9/10 of the job that you have to do. Getting the water is the easy part then, because then you can just
Yeah.
pick and choose who you can buy the water from. So I will reach out to our grant writer, Todd, who's helped us on a number of things. I don't think there's going to be anything that he can help us with this small. It may be through, something, a smaller testing facility may have something that they work with the IEPA or that. But we'll definitely look into options to try to offset that cost. But while you have a budget, nothing was budgeted for this water testing. So anything will have to be put before the board as far as.
Right, that's what I was
Yeah.
saying, is we would have to
Because it'd have to be
propose something to the.
But I
city
can definitely
council.
reach out to our grant writer to find out if there's any opportunities or anything out there, or maybe he can direct, the IEPA doesn't have a grant program that would deal with this, but I worked with another community that has wells, and their equivalent to the water committee went through Illinois American Water. Illinois American Water wouldn't be giving you grant money for water testing. They're in the business of selling water. But with McHenry, what's the one that we were going through
Barrington
before?
Area Council of Government?
No, 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 we were testing water through that.
Oh, the McHenry, yeah.
Yeah, okay, like McHenry may know of a organization that deals with well waters or that. So reaching out to the independent testing companies could help as well. But I will definitely, on our end, see if there's any grant opportunities for the water testing.
And there are a lot of organizations, if you go online, there are a
Yeah.
ton of organizations who deal with this.
Private organizations may offer smaller grant funding that would be closer in line with the $13,000 that we're discussing here for the 200 homes.
Right, okay.
So I'll contact EPA, and also I'm gonna see if I can contact the United States Geological Survey, because I know that they are involved in this too.
Great. And Dee, you are the one that knows about all the well water testing stuff.
Yeah,
Whoever your connection is, maybe somebody there knows something about subsidies from different possible places. You would think they might know that because it gets them more business. So maybe you could ask there.
Do we have any idea at all what the, I know we're gonna test it and we don't have any results, but do we have any idea at all on cumulatively, what the quality of the well is throughout Prospect Heights? I mean, I know we don't have enough information, right?
I don't think there's ever been a comprehensive test of everybody's well in the city.
City does not regulate private wells.
Right.
So,
So there's no information to go by.
so this would be the first, attempt at getting some valuable information on the wells.
I think I don't know why, but I have a feeling that more people, from what I was listening to at the block party, more people are interested. Before, no one seemed to,
I think
Be
you have younger
interested.
families.
yeah,
I think
and,
you have younger people moving in who aren't
Definitely.
married to the wells, like a lot of the people who've been here for 20, 30, 40 years are. And they just want, a lot of people, I think, who have been here for a while, they play in the yard, they have gardens, they do all kinds of things. A lot of the new people now have very little time. They hire landscapers to do the mowing, and they just don't want to have to deal with things. So having a well and not having a well doesn't make a difference. They'd rather probably have the better water, the higher quality water, and not have to mess with iron and smell and crusty fixtures and things like that.
but I think they're also interested in knowing what they have.
I think so
What
too.
what
More
is
aware.
in their water? They're more aware. It's
Yeah.
like people that are no longer drinking soda, and people that are no longer eating gluten, and, people are becoming more health conscious, and I really think that if we offered something to the residents and say, hey, you want to check out what you got coming into your house? I mean, with all the stuff that's going on in the city of Chicago with the lead and all of the other toxins that they're finding from water, I think people would be really interested in finding out what is coming through their water.
Yeah,
I think so
that's-
too.
That would be something, to promote an awareness and get people to volunteer as much as we could, or get some type of subsidy, I'm just not sure. We need to get the word out and get people bringing in the results and having a centralized location where we could put all these results and tabulate them.
And Peter, you had mentioned $13,000. That would be for 200 households to have 100% of the test paid for. We were talking maybe 50%, so it might be as little as $6,500 if it was a 50-50 grant or something like that.
Or any type of subsidy where,
Anything,
people.
right, any
who use-
incentive.
Whoever, let's say we get 300 volunteers and we have a pool of $15,000, then they'd equally share in it.
Sure. So you get $30 towards your $65 well test.
So, to me, maybe we would propose to whoever is able to provide funding, a dollar number, saying we want to do a comprehensive test, how much could we get? And then from there, we can say, okay, we now have a pool of $15,000 or $20,000, and we can tell the residents, everyone who volunteers to be part of this program will get a reduction of some sort from the pool.
Would you mind sharing what kind of elements you had tested for in your well?
Oh, I'd be happy to, yeah.
Just
Matter
see
of
what,
fact,
I was just curious what $65 gets you.
yeah, I would love to. I
You get
had
something
hoped-
similar to this, or?
Yeah, pretty much. It's not as deep as this.
Well, maybe you can get a copy of it out through Peter to everybody
Oh, yeah.
in the meantime.
I was gonna blow it up for the block party, but I just ran out of time,
But it would-
honestly, because.
It would be nice to see what you get for $65.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we don't need $65, or maybe we need 100.
Well, I think, you know what, I went the other route too, which cost me 70 some odd dollars, and it gave me the not chloroforms, it gave me 2 tests, one of which had nothing to do, if I was in a farm area, it would be
That's the coliforms?
coliforms and.
Right, and that's mostly waste, livestock. that
Yeah,
they waste.
so I cheaped out the first time around and didn't go for the whole testing route. I mean, I think if you go with a smaller lab, it may cost you a little more. And then I was told about the Illinois State Water Survey, and they give you more bang for your buck. And they tested for all sorts of things. That's when I found out sulfate was a natural laxative.
That's the other thing, is that if we do get some grant money, that would be a pretty good incentive for people to go out and get tests. I mean, and also we might be able to get one, if we know we have $6,500 and it's going to go toward testing, we might be able to work with the lab and get even more tests for that $65 than we normally would by not guaranteeing them, but pushing people maybe toward that cheaper lab. Volume, kind of a volume discount, if you will.
Yeah, if that would be something, again, too, we talked a little bit about it, are there any volume discounts for some of these labs?
It might be if you had a couple of hundred people who you could guarantee them.
I know that when we did all that work, when one of the subcommittee members did all that work on finding out whether anybody was going to give us a discount and what, how many people would we have to provide, how many tests, they just weren't interested.
Really?
Yeah, it was like,
So there was not even a minimum or anything?
there was no interest. One flat out told her that we don't do that.
Now, you paid $65 yourself, or is that,
Yeah.
have you got that, bring it in and show us, or?
Oh,
That's what
you
she's
know
gonna
what?
do. She's
And
gonna
it's
get
funny
something
because
to
I
feed
saw
her.
it on the kitchen counter, and I've been carrying it around in my bag for like months, and I took it out and
course.
left it behind.
That's how it works.
And I thought to myself, yeah, I should take this. No, instead I brought
Maybe
a bunch of
get a copy
Oh,
of it.
yeah.
Peter can just get it out to all of us, we can take a look at it and have something in front of us, and we can compare it to what Lewis put together here and
Yeah,
kind of see, where we're at.
Starting to collect data.
well, I think that's, yeah, and I don't know if this is the appropriate time, but we did have people, when we were at the block party, sign up for more information. Maybe this, and I didn't know whether I should, if KU wanted to be, or if I give it to Peter, or how many hits that we might have gotten on our Prospect Heights Water Committee website, to find out if other people that are interested, if people are calling us with interest, maybe those are the people that we can go out and say, hey, we're putting together this program. Would you
You
be
interested?
interested in
Right.
testing? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 15 people here.
There has to be an incentive somewhere. If it's not monetary, it's got to be something else, and I'm not sure what that something else would be. But if we could get the monetary, then that kind of takes care of everything.
Yeah, and I think the incentive is that, if we've got people, if we've got the city on our side that's willing to help, and we want to do, the best for our neighbors and residents.
Oh, I agree that that's a good thing. I don't think people are going to, in general, are going to go out and get well tests because we think they should, without any kind of assistance or some kind of incentive. Either we'll pay for half of it, or you get entered into, we just go back to the raffles, I don't know why. We get entered into a raffle, or
Well-
something that would get them to do it.
I know, right now, we're kind of going through some of the old business, and we haven't even gotten to the new business, but on new business, we're talking, there was a note on here for survey outline wish list to prepare for a mailing. What we're talking about now would become part of that mailing, so we can consider that to be part of our discussion for that topic. I think, because we're talking about promoting something in a mailing, this would be what we could promote, just to get people aware and participate in that. That could be tied into it.
And I think when that gets revised to show the, sources and the long-term effects, that would be a great handout, either maybe at the city hall or as part of a mailing, or would have been great for like the block party, but the forum maybe even.
Well, the forum, I'm thinking, the forum would be the next opportunity to have these available, but in the meantime, to get information out
Sure.
to the residents, prepare a mailing, which I think we were trying to target for September. So, we probably should make a workshop meeting, the next meeting, so that's something we'll have to talk about. So, any other old business here? I see we've got the block party issue, the water forum, and.
You know what I'll try to do too is I will, we're getting, by the time what's our next meeting date? Anyone have that handy? Anyway, before that date, I was gonna call Christina from the Park District and see if we could get any more of a confirmation on our December date for the
Okay.
forum. We're getting close to September, I figured. Can't hurt to ask her. So hopefully, maybe I'll have some information on that.
It's the 19th,
19th, okay.
and I will not be attending that meeting. Will someone take notes for me,
I
please?
don't know if I'm going to be here either.
August 19th, is that gonna be an issue for a lot of people?
It may be the last couple of weeks.
Do
of
we
August.
wanna move it up a week earlier? Because we've
12th?
got time to make it the 12th.
I wonder what Sean's doing.
Oh.
If he's gonna be able to make it.
Well, hopefully he can, but if we've got 5 of us right here out of the 6, we should take an opportunity to set up a meeting.
You said the 12th?
Yeah, if we move it up.
Yeah.
I'll try and wake up on time, too.
12th or the 19th? for
Oh,
me.
it's fine.
Well, the 19th, we already know
I won't be
Jay
here.
won't be here,
Okay.
and now that I think about it, I'm not gonna be here on the 19th.
Okay, well, I'm fine with the 12th.
12th is fine.
Okay.
So let's make the next meeting the 12th of August. That's not a problem, is it, Peter?
I don't see any conflicts.
Okay. So we're gonna, hey, can we have a second on that date?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we're gonna work on August 12th to be our actual meeting for the month of August.
And you said you wanted to have,
I'd like to have a workshop because
Workshop.
we got a lot of stuff to cover and it'd probably be a little longer.
so we'll have a regular meeting and then a workshop after?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's move on to the report from the Northwest Water Commission. I think the other topics, we can kind of go past that and just move on to the Northwest Water Commission. You
Well,
guys
I
want
believe
to-
if we ever had a chance, right now, we could get it.
Why
We
is
could get
that?
hooked up,
Why is that?
because we were accepted and not rejected, like it's gone on in the past, and
Well, can you
very
give me
friendly
more?
people.
Okay, so when you got there, the reception was a warm reception, or did they
Yeah.
say, come on in, we want to
Even
have you?
offered us a bagel if we wanted.
That's how you know that we were
So if
accepted.
they offer you a bagel, we're in.
That always goes right to water.
Oh, gosh.
But I think we got a real good chance with,
Now, did Lou go with you?
yeah.
Okay, so you both went there?
Yeah, we went in, we
Yeah.
sat down.
And they said, bring in your city administrator at the next meeting if you want one, because he has to set all this paperwork up.
To bring in the service administrator?
Joe Wade.
Oh,
Yeah, he gave us his card, which I made a copy of, Peter, and he said to contact, this is the executive director of the Northwest Water Commission. He said for Joe to
Kevin
contact.
Lucas, who is now the executive director, was a very friendly guy.
He said for Joe to contact him, just to talk. You know, I don't know if he was being polite or dismissive or what, but,
It'll be run through the channel, so.
yeah,
I'll give it to Joe.
yeah, it can't hurt, just let him talk.
I mean, they brought that up,
Yeah.
this is,
Well, they asked if we had any questions at the end, if anyone had any questions, and they went to the board members, and they came out in the audience, which was just Ralph and myself, and asked if we had any questions, and Ralph said, yeah, we want water.
so it's that simple.
Yeah, pretty much.
So no arm twisting,
Well, you know, I don't know what have your city administrator call me means,
no, all I'm saying is.
but it certainly wasn't,
Up until this point, I had the impression that those people were like totally against
Negative.
involving Prospect Heights. Now, this is a complete reversal of all the rumors and stories I've heard.
well, again, I don't
Exactly,
know.
it is.
I don't know that by saying have your administrator call me means anything, other than, please get out of here, we want to, because we're going into closed session.
Yeah, okay.
So it might have been dismissive. I don't know. I mean, it might have been, yeah, you know what, we haven't talked about
We
this in a while.
wouldn't be a voting member, but we could be a member.
Well, like
I
the
think.
Splains, the Splains was in there, and they're not a voting member now, but
And
they were the most
they're-
recently added.
And that's because of the cost that they had coming in from Jawa was out of sight.
Well, maybe if Joe can call them and maybe you can let us know what's going on at our next meeting.
City will look into it.
Yeah, I would appreciate knowing, what kind of reception he would have, because until now, Peter, I've been under the impression from everybody that
Absolutely no.
but
Well,
this
it's not
sounds to
like-
me like an open
not what I
invitation
expect
that
to
they'd
be.
be willing to talk, and that's a good starting point.
I think we can get hooked up, I believe, this time around. And then to pay for that, we could get rid of American Water then, I guess,
Well, it'd be another venue,
yeah.
and if they'd be willing to, it'd be good to have some competition for pricing. So I think that was very productive, and appreciate you guys going there. Anything else on conversations that went on?
No, it was very short. You know, their meeting lasted, what, 10 minutes maybe, Ralph, at the most? I said their meeting lasted, what, 10 minutes? And
Well,
then they asked
15,
for-
I was thinking,
they
but
were
then
asked
it
for
went
questions.
into closed session,
Right.
Okay.
So we had to leave at that time. But I didn't at all feel like we were outsiders when they bellied right up with us.
So you told them you're on the water committee, Prospect Heights?
Yeah.
Right, we signed
So
in.
we had to sign in
We
that
signed
way.
in as that.
And when they talked with you, or whatever the case may be, identified you, was it like a surprise that you were there, or what kind of impression was there?
I didn't sense a surprise.
And they weren't hostile at all.
No, they
Oh,
weren't
okay.
hostile.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, because, the impression I've gotten up till now is like, that.
Well, that's
It was
true.
hard to read. I mean, they weren't happy we were there, they weren't mad that we were there, they were just kind of professional and,
Okay.
have your man call my man kind of thing.
Okay, that's fine, okay.
What's
You
Joe's
you want
last
this
name,
card?
please?
Wade.
W-A-D-E.
Okay. All right, good. So we've got a stepping stone there.
I think we got a good one.
Okay.
Gotta start somewhere.
Do we have any reports from our subcommittees under new business?
None from ours, right, Jill?
Okay, Sean's not here, and neither is anybody from,
Except to say that I did email the 4 associations to tell them about our plans for December 2nd for the water forum and candidates.
could you maybe speak up here and, so we can get that on the,
I did contact the 4 associations and asked them if they can wait till September for confirmation of a date for our water forum, and they said fine. The only exception was the Illinois Association of Groundwater Professionals. They have their board meeting the second week in September, and they would prefer to know it by that date, but I made her aware that our meeting is typically the third Saturday of every month. But I've communicated with them, I've been in constant communication with them, so I feel secure that we would have all of them present.
Oh, with any luck, hopefully maybe even have a confirmation for our next meeting. So if that's the case, then we should be set.
Great.
Okay, so that's regarding the speakers you're looking for?
Yes, the four
Okay.
associations that I contacted, Illinois Association of Groundwater Professionals, Illinois State Water Survey, National Sanitation Foundation, and Water Quality Association.
And when is the deadline? You said they're hoping to hear from us?
I told them it's by September. Our
September,
September
okay.
meeting was going to determine or confirm the date and venue.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Well,
Okay, so anything else? As far as, before we go to adjournment, then, do we want to come up with an agenda then for the 12th? We're going to have the workshop.
Right, I'll hopefully have an update of this, or not an update, but the redesigned water quality information that I mentioned, adding the 2 columns and.
Okay, and so essentially, we're going to, as far as old business, that'll continue. We're going to talk about information on speakers. We're going to continue on with the survey or mailing on the subject matter we've discussed today, which is water testing and reporting on it.
Water forum.
The water
update.
forum update. Perhaps we'll know a little bit more about the grants opportunities.
Mhm.
And I guess for now, I guess we're good. Anything else, anybody? Do we want to,
So the 12th is our next meeting.
our next meeting will be the 12th, yes. Okay,
Trying to have something on the conda at that point.
that would be another one to put down there, perhaps, a report from Ralph from the Wakanda. The
That'd be
people in
under new,
Wakanda.
then.
That'll be on the business. So Wakanda report, EPA report. Any grant opportunities, so. Anything else?
That's it.
Can I get a motion for adjournment?
I motion to adjourn.
A second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,